said that before, but this really is a spectacular show. I've got my friends from Reunion Marketing starting. Let's start with Jessica D. Hi, Jessica. How are you?
Hi. Very good. Very good. Glad to be here with you.
We're ready to rock and roll. We're going to talk about Google marketing, local ads. We're going to talk about some really secret, strong stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. We've got the secret sauce for you.
Okay, let's get to the leader over here, Dave Spannhake. Hello, Dave.
Hey, Jim. Thanks for having us on again.
Oh, thanks for being here. I'll tell you what, some of my favorite people in the universe, in case they do advertising on other planets, you know. Oh, Chad Graves. Hey, Chad.
Hey, Jim. How you doing today?
Haven't seen you since Battle Plan 25.
That's right. That's right. October of 19. So been a little bit, but we're happy to be here today.
Well, you know, right now, dealers got no cars. They can sell every damn thing they can lay hands on. Why do they need you? Start off, Chad.
Yeah, I'll be happy to start it off. You know, I think that today's environment is as complex as it's ever been, right? I routinely hear, and I know you've heard it, Jim, I've heard people say, well, that's just how it is now, talking about digital marketing and the speed at which things move. And if you're still thinking that that's the way it's going, you're behind today. It's not just the way it's going, it's here and it's moving at a rapid pace, probably a pace quicker than ever before. And so what companies like us and Reunion, what we're really trying to do is stay one step ahead of some of the platform changes, what's going on with Google, which we'll talk about today, some of the other things that are happening in the industry. You got to really stay one step ahead, because especially on the other side of this inventory shortage, right? It's going to be the people who keep their eye on the ball and make sure.
There is going to be another side of this thing. I knew the answer before I asked the question. You know that.
That's right.
This isn't going to be forever and ever and ever. You guys are in a drunken party. Sooner or later, you're going to have to sober up. It's going to get back to normal again sooner or later.
That's exactly.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's exactly the case. And that's one of the reasons we like coming on and talking to you about what's going on, because you know, if you're sitting back and you're not paying attention to what's going on right now with Google, with Facebook, with the privacy changes, I mean, I've never seen it move this fast in my entire life. And, you know, I've been on the ball for 15 years now. And I mean, seen all sorts of change. I remember doing line ads when I started my career, and then getting into websites and Auto Trader and cars, and then, you know, PPC and all this different stuff. But I mean, everything is moving and changing now. And some of the results that we're seeing by doing what people want to do and live in a more frictionless environment and, you know, adapt with these changes. I mean, it's night and day over even 3 years ago. It's tremendous. So now is not the time to just sit back and sleep at the wheel. That's for sure.
Okay. So in other words, dealers, if you're out there running around with your Walkman, things have changed.
A little bit.
Jessica, Google My Business. Everybody's talking about Google My Business, and everybody's professing to be an expert on the, you know, first of all, do you have to be on Google My Business? Do you have to have that application?
Absolutely.
Why?
Yes. Google My Business is a quick snapshot of everything about your dealership. It has your reviews, it has your hours, your availability, and Google made it 10 times easier by, you know, adding those little buttons of get directions. You get immediate directions. You need a phone call, quick dial. There's no hesitation. There's no, I guess, wait time. All of the information you need is right there in that knowledge panel.
Okay, so Google My Business, and see a lot of dealers. God bless you. I've known dealers for years and years, and some of you guys and women out there that own these dealerships, you don't know where the on switch on your computer is. But let's be real about it. I mean, the best thing your employees could do is give you a golf bag and a beeper, you know. You know? So Google My Business is the most important thing that's come along in a long time. And if you're not using Google My Business at its ultimate, utmost efficiency, your dealership is dead meat. I'm telling you right now, you've got to really maximize all opportunities, and it's free. Free. Yeah.
Don't often get to say that, right?
Chad, Google My Business is free to. So, what are we here to talk about today? Local ads driving traffic to Google My Business. Is that the gist of it for the layman?
Yes, sir. I think what we're going to really hit on, and we brought Jessica here today because she's the expert, right? But,
she looks to be the expert. She could be in a room and I'd know she was the expert.
Me too. Luckily, that's why we bring her in, right? Somebody's got to look like the expert. I know it's not me. So what I love about it, though, with the Google Local ads is while GMB is free and you can have those different pages, what we're really excited about is this is a new ad placement that's come out the last several months, but the adoption rate across our industry is still very, very low. So
dealers aren't using it.
Not at all. I think the last time we saw, it was only about 15 to 20% of dealers in general were taking advantage of this. So for us, now we have a very low cost opportunity to lay on top of a free opportunity where we can get a lot of eyeballs for an extremely cost effective way.
So the dealers are going to have to understand you're going to have to stay in front of the public. Yeah, right now we can sell cars. We can sell cars at a premium. We're running out of inventory, but you got to be in front. You got to be in front of the customers continually. Jessica, I'm going to go back to you. I hate to leave Dave out of this conversation for a second, but how cheap is cheap? How economical is this?
I would say this is probably one of the most cost-effective, most efficient campaigns that you can run in Google right now. We're having incredible success with $10 a day, which equates to about $300. $300 a month. We're getting.
That's not even a blackjack chip.
All the more reason. It's pennies on the dollar, and we can track everything and get incredible results from it.
$10 a day?
$10 a day.
Now, I know for a fact that there are companies out there that are really charging dealers exorbitant amounts for questionable results. $10 a day, what do they get for that? What does it do?
Oh, now we're going to get in the meat.
That's what we're here for.
Local campaigns, yes. I get very excited about this too. So you may see some hand gestures and some excitement coming. Yeah, I love this stuff. But with a local campaign, ultimately the results that we see are store visits, if you have that tracking. So you can actually track when someone clicks on your ad, then physically walks into your store within a 30-day window. Incredible attribution piece. Then we have the ability.
So you can measure the result with real quantitative measurement.
Yeah.
There's a lot of smoke and mirrors out there in the car business today. I always say, when figures lie, when liars figure.
I like that.
So this is that's a Zieglerism. Yeah. So this is something you can absolutely track. I mean, you can absolutely know that they hit on your GMB and they came in on the local ad, they hit on the GMB, and they showed up in the showroom. You can track that.
Correct. Yes.
Continue. I interrupted you. I'm getting excited too. So.
I'm going to rub off on you. I will. But yes, store visits is an available tracking feature. And then, of course, we can also track how many people call. Click that little click to call button on the Google My Business panel, the most important thing that you should be having right now, as well as people clicking on get directions. So people that are at that time, in that moment, wanting to get directions to your dealership.
Let me interrupt you 1 second now. Mm-hmm. You're talking about the functions of GMB. Now, we're also talking about ads to drive people to GMB, less than $10 a day, which I really liked. Does Reunion also build the GMB? Are you helping to put that together?
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as we take on a client, one of the very first things that we look at, or even before we're just trying to help dealers out, is we look for, do they even have all 3 pages built out? Sales, service, and parts, which unfortunately, a lot of us put fixed ops on the back burner and we don't even have that taken advantage of yet. So that's free tip number one, right? To make sure that you have those built out for your store. But then it's about making sure that we have all the optimizations completed as well. And all of those things together help that GMV show up so much more and really get you a lot of free exposure that you may be missing out on right now.
And there are some things coming. We need to talk about that a little bit later, but we interrupted Jessica. We all got excited. Jessica, continue on.
Sure. Well, those are the primary, I guess, conversions that you can get from these types of campaigns in terms of trackable leads. But just to talk about these campaigns in general, what is a local campaign might be a really good place to start.
Let's start.
It's a very good start, yeah. It is a universal campaign that actually targets the search network, which is google.com, the display network, which is essentially any image across any website, and YouTube. And just to give a little bit of stat and information, I guess, on those is there are 40,000 searches happening on google.com a day. I'm sorry, a second. A day is 3.5 billion. 3.5 billion. I know.
Really?
It's incredible.
Say that number again. I mean, I'm not a statistics sort of guy, but say that one more time. How many?
Google.com, just on the search network, has 40,000 searches every second, which is 3.5 billion per day.
You had 500,000 time it took you to say that.
Then, I mean, that's just one network. That's one of three that we can go after with these local campaigns. The second, the display network, we can reach 90% of the total internet population. 90% of all internet population from just the display network.
Wow.
Then, not done yet.
How do you know how to get your share of that 90? Okay, 90%.
With using local campaigns.
Okay. Oh, I knew the answer.
Then lastly, the YouTube network is, I'm sure some of us, most of us know, is the second largest search engine, of course, right behind Google. And there's 3 million searches a month on YouTube. And just to put into perspective, that's more than Bing, Yahoo, AOL, and Ask.com combined. So with these local campaigns, you're covering an extreme amount of reach that, you know, this is the one type of campaign that can do that.
We talk about local campaigns, and now local, I'm sure it's got to be a geographic area. Is that what we're talking about?
It is. With local campaigns, you don't really have control over the geographic targeting because it's automatic.
Yeah,
It's
I know
based
that.
off of, well, I mean, obviously, I'm in California. I don't need to see a dealership's local ad, you know, in North Carolina. It's not going to be feasible or even useful to me. So Google actually finds the physical location of each user, typically around 20 miles. Figured out the map.
Generally, we can control, when we feel it's going to be a 20-mile radius of your dealership, generally your market area.
Your backyard. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So continue on. This is good.
I know. But yeah, with these local campaigns, I mean, we know what a search ad looks like. We kind of know what a display ad looks like. It's just a little image. Of course, we know what a video looks like and where they typically appear. But with local campaigns, they actually show ads in placements that typical ads can't show. So it almost completes the entire ad circle, meaning if you're only on the search network, you basically show up on google.com, right? But with local campaigns, you can show up in extra places like Google Maps. You can show up inside of the Google My Business knowledge panel, which is the most important thing you should be having right now to iterate that.
The Google My Business knowledge panel.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
The knowledge panel is just your little your little snapshot, if you will, that we talked about on the top of the call.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And yeah, these are going to be the only campaigns that can show up on Google Maps and show up within the Google My Business listing.
Dave, what kind of success are we having with this?
Yeah, well, I mean, 15 minutes in, so a couple zingers for you. I think it's time for some of those, right? I think to highlight that point Jessica made, I think it's worth hammering this one home. The smart campaigns are going away, right? So this is the only way to advertise and drive traffic to Google My Business, which is where you're getting most of your phone calls, most of your traffic, most of your eyeballs. It's the only way to do that.
Google My Business has actually, eventually, I feel, is going to replace websites.
There's a lot. So, there's a lot to talk about with what Google's doing there and creating this new environment, and it's making it easier for customers to engage, and they're doing it for privacy. But all these results they're showing that consumers want to do that. Consumers don't want to have to leave the experience they're on. They want to stay there. They want to make it seamless. And that's why the second zinger, besides this is the only way to get your Google My Business ads out there and get these, that kind of extra exposure is the result cost. And when those conversions that Jessica's talking about, $4 to $8 cost per conversion on this, a lot of times more phone calls than anything else.
Define conversion.
So, phone calls, form fills, or someone who's clicking on that drive directions to the dealership. And in some cases, there's more of those than phone calls. But there's a lot of cases, a lot of circumstances. I'd say Jessica can tell me if I'm wrong here in the recent stats, but half to 2/3, there's more phone calls than directions. There's a lot of phone calls coming through this channel. And that's why we're so excited about it, because Google knows what you're doing and what you're up to, what kind of audience you're in. And this is the environment we're moving to.
That's what I wanted to hear. And I knew the answer to, once again, it generates phone calls.
Yeah, exactly.
It allows you to communicate in real time with the consumer while they're probably still on the site.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and again, that whole frictionless environment is why we mentioned at the top of the hour, if dealers are asleep right now and they're not paying attention to what's happening, we've been on and we talked about the on-destination ads on Facebook where people are, submitting those leads directly on Facebook and they're not being driven back to the website, and things happening on Google My Business and they're not going back to the website. And these ads that create this environment, there's inventory now that we've talked about, I think before the show started, that's happening on Cars for Sale on GMB, but also being piped into these ads. Google and Facebook and everyone, this is them adapting to these privacy changes that Apple's put on, where you can't do as much with your ads because you want to hit the right people and the right audience, right, with your ads to be efficient. We've been doing that for 10 plus years in the digital marketing landscape, and Apple's taken a lot of that away, a lot of that audience building opportunity away with these privacy laws. So then Facebook and Google both are creating this new environment where the whole experience is going to happen within the ad and within Google My Business. And what we've seen and what we're so excited about is that this is what consumers have always wanted. These are the best results we've seen in a decade. And it reminds me of, I mentioned before, line ads and all these evolution of things.
Back up, you're talking really fast. The best results we've seen in a decade.
Yeah. Yeah, and you see, I'm getting like Jessica all passionate about this. But, I remember when I first got on PPC, and this is back in like 2007, 2008, and it's like, wow, my cost per phone call is like $5 or $8, and just way cheaper than and we can measure this stuff, and I couldn't believe it, and we shifted a lot of budget and direction to those channels because it was so cheap, and now. That's gone up because the competition has gone up. And there's way more people. Everyone knows that they need to be online and advertising online. And that's, check different boxes here. But where people, I think, could be asleep at the wheel now is that this major shift has happened where the ad experience is moving to these frictionless environments, and you can interact with the ads and on the platforms themselves. This is what the consumers want, and the costs are so low because the adoption rate's so low. Facebook certainly has to be incentivizing people to be using that platform to drive more traffic and clicks. And, we talked about 15, 20 cent clicks on the Facebook on destination ads. It's the same environment here with the Google Local ads. This is the new future. And again, all these folks who maybe are asleep in the wheel and then, cars are selling just because they're selling, once these supply levels get back, if you're not on this and others are, then you're going to be in a little bit of trouble, and you're going to wonder why market shares, falling by the wayside, because you know, this is the opportunity to be way more efficient with your budget and get way more spend and get those important phone calls and form fills and leads and get that traffic and be able to have that much better understanding of what your marketing is doing, because it's all that measurable now.
You know, I've thrown out a lot of humor, but the truth of the matter is, when things normalize again, there are some dealers that are going to be way behind the eight ball. They're going to crash. I mean, you've got to make your move now. And one of the biggest challenges right now is getting inventory. And I know before we got on the air, we were talking about buyback campaigns, some of the other things we can do. So, you know, you are a full service agency, and there's so many things we can do. Yeah, what else do we need to tell the people?
Well, piggyback off of, I'm ready. To piggyback off of exactly what you just said, promoting buyback or promoting why buys, promoting your dealer tagline. What differentiates your dealership from the next guy? That's what we can use the local campaigns for.
Oh.
You can blast your message out across all of these networks and have one of the, again, most cost-effective and most efficient campaign out there to get your message across.
We can get the message across. We can drive a buyback campaign. We can get additional inventory when inventory is rare and scarce. I mean, we can do so many things with this process.
Mm-hmm. And just because inventory is a little low right now, again, it's not going to last forever. We do have a very supply and demand type industry, and we need to provide that supply against the demand. And just, again, because the inventory is going away doesn't mean you're going away, right? So you should
hopefully not.
Yeah.
But if you don't make the move now, Mr. Dealer, Mrs. Dealer, if you don't make the move right now, your dealership's going to be a big outdoor skateboard for you. Mm-hmm. Now is the time. Mm-hmm. And it's never been as cheap. I doubt that the economy is going to last. I mean, the economy of this buy can't last forever. The window is right now. What do you think, Chad?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, I think at this point, what we can just anticipate is that there's going to be continual curveballs, right? I mean, you look at last year, you look at this year, there was issues happening one way or the other. So for us, it's about that consistency, and it's the dealers who stay consistent and stay in communication with their agency and try these new type of things that are rolling out, that on the other side of whatever that obstacle may be this year, next year, the year after, those are the folks who are completing the year in a great space, right? It's the folks that we see hit that panic button or dial back so drastically that then we got to dig ourselves out of a hole on the other side.
So yeah, and by the way, that's your phone number scrolling across the bottom of the screen. That is your direct phone number.
Yes, sir. That is my direct line.
919-602-0438. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So they want to talk to you, and see, what excited me is we talk about everybody's got a buyback campaign, but this program that we're talking about right now will drive that campaign.
That's right.
And it'll drive it more efficiently than anything I can conceive of right now.
That's exactly right. I mean, if you want to push that we need cars, you want to push a why buy that talks about how you're going to take care of your customers, this is one of the best places that you can do that. We can change that message in and out with relative ease, and we still see consistent results when we do that. And I think that that's a big piece, is that ability to pivot as inventory changes up and down, or, hopefully we get surprised and, it doesn't last all the way through summer. Then we pivot that message almost instantaneously, and that allows dealers to stay one step ahead with the most current happenings at their store as well.
Dave, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, to build on that and just to build on this changing landscape, I think, dealers really got to start recognizing that fragmentation is happening with the decision-making process for consumers. What
does that mean?
So yeah, so I mean, I'm getting there because that, you know, it sounds like something you read back in, you know, economics 102 back in college or something. But you know, when we're younger, you know, I remember, you know, not having cable and having, you know, 4, 5, 6 channels, and you know, not a lot of variety. And
I was the remote.
what's that?
That's right.
I was the remote. My dad said, change the channel, kid.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, yeah, we were fortunate enough to be in the remote control era, but we still had the when the batteries were out, I was the remote too, for sure. For that, you know. And then I remember us getting cable when we grew up, and there were more channels. And then now you go look at TV, and you see that there are hundreds of channels. And this is kind of the evolution of the internet shopping that's happened over the last 20 years, where it started off with Cars.com and Auto Trader, and then, you know, dealership websites got to be more prevalent, and people are still going to websites by the thousands. So it's, you know, definitely, we're not saying forget about that, because you got to still be just as on that as ever, because there's a ton of eyeballs. But, you know, now as more of these options come up and people are starting to create these shopping experiences that are happening on Facebook and on Google My Business and through Google Local ads, there's a whole lot more touch points that, you know, we're past those early days. We're in a more evolved state of consumer shopping, that there's a whole lot more to look at, a whole lot more to manage. And, you know, right now, some of those cheaper, more affordable options that give you so much substance are out there, and they're wide open. And again, the dealers who are going to take advantage of this are the dealers that are going to succeed and win. And it's really, I think, maybe the thing I'm surprised most about, and maybe it's because there's so many folks that are fat and happy and, you know, sitting on low supply, but the adoption rate is so low. I mean, it was, the last I looked at it, I think it was a couple months ago, and it's just
what he means,
15,
folks, is your
20%.
competitors aren't doing this.
Yeah.
You're not doing it, but when your competitors start doing it, shame on you if you're not.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
It's yeah, exactly. I mean, Jessica's is still 15, 20%, right around there. Is that so I mean, you know, less than 1 out of 5 dealers is doing this right now. And for these results and this cost, I mean, it's as big of a no-brainer as doing the on-destination Facebook ads.
I would dare say
Not
1 out
maybe
of 5.
more.
I dare say 1 out of 5 agencies aren't doing this right now.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
we aren't trying to push them to do this, though, Jim. That's no, we're talking about, you know, more dealers should be doing this, but yeah, I mean, other agencies can work on whatever, you know, older strategy they're working on, but this is where it's at right now. This is what you should be doing, so.
That's right.
Okay. What other services does Reunion Marketing offer? Now, we're talking about Google My Business. We're talking about local ads. What else do you guys do?
Chad, you want to take this? This is your wheelhouse right here.
I just passed you a softball.
Jim, how long you got here? We can talk about this one all day.
I just threw you a softball, big guy.
I'm ready for it.
You watch the pitch go by, bat still on your shoulder. What's wrong with you?
He was on a roll. I was letting him take a swing, but I'll go for it. You know, Jim, I think for us, it really comes down to 3 things. Where we really specialize is search engine optimization. So organically being found on Google, which ties into Google My Business. Then we have the paid advertising and search engine marketing, which is what Jessica oversees. That's where the local ads tie into the GMB there to bring it full circle today. And then I call it the third head of our 3-headed monster is the social media and really pushing that envelope as well. The way that I look at it is every single customer that interacts with the dealership is going to at least 2 sites, and that we can guarantee. One is Google, one is Facebook. And so it's Reunion's job to make sure that our dealers show up ahead and better than any of their competitors on those platforms.
So anyway, if they were to give you a call right now, I mean, will you give them an analysis of what they're currently doing and what you feel you could improve?
It's probably one of our favorite things to do, Jim, is if a dealer called me today and said, you know, hey, what is it that you offer? What we'd want to do is take a look at how are they performing today? How does their website look? What's their digital footprint in general? And then what we'll do is actually deliver that analysis free of cost as well. So even if they just say, okay, great, I just want to get a stance of where I'm at, then awesome. That's what we want to do is help the dealers understand where they are today. Hopefully, though, it leads to an opportunity for us to say, you know, this is where you are. This is what you're doing really well. But here's the couple of things where Reunion feels we have an opportunity to come in and help you out. And it's usually one of those free services that we feel we can really make a difference for dealers today.
I love it. Jessica, jump right back into Google local ads. I mean, we're pushing people to GMB. The cost effectiveness is less than $10. I'm still having a struggle with that $10 a day. I mean, yeah, $10 a day. I'm spending more than that on trivial things. Talk to me about that.
Sure. When these local campaigns first got rolled out by Google, just to put some perspective, Google was recommending at least $1,000 a day for 14 consecutive days to run these exact same campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
that's what I relate to.
Right.
$1,000 a day, okay. But you come in with $10 a day. I don't know.
Right. So Reunion takes that as a challenge. We saw that as a challenge. Like, well, I wonder what we can get with just $10 a day. And lo and behold, we have $4 to $8. I think last month it was averaging about $4.50 cost per conversion. So cost per phone call, store visit, and get directions and form fills. So just debunked that theory right there. And, you can obviously have up to $1,000 a day. By all means, you can go higher.
They will definitely take your money. Yes, they will.
Which is why, we're, I think, more of a transparent agency than most out there. We come in and say, hey, you really don't need an immense amount of budget to fulfill this request or for this type of campaign. We can actually get you results around $10 a day. If you love it, we'll give you the recommendations to increase if you'd like. But we're not going to come in and say, we want that $1,000 or $2,000 a day requirement. So
fantastic.
It's wonderful. And to piggyback off of that, moving into the ease of these campaigns. So when you think about it, you're like, oh my gosh, you're covering search, display, YouTube. What do I have to manage and what do I have to control?
What do I have to measure? Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. Everything we do creates more work for the people in the dealership if it's not productive. So how about the ease of the campaign? Get into that.
It's wonderful. Very easy. All you would need is a YouTube link. It can be one from your website or from your dealer, or you can use the OEM's YouTube video. You need, ideally at least 5 images. So 5 vehicle pictures or dealership photos. Of course, great quality if possible, of course. Then lastly, you just need some content. And what I mean by content is headlines, up to 30 characters. You can have up to 15, then 5 description lines. And then Google takes all of that information and rotates them, finds ad variations, combines things together, and finds the best performing for you. One really interesting and I guess even easier factor to finding images, if that is one of the issues that you're running into, in the actual campaign itself, you can scan your own website and pull images directly from your insight or from your website without having to download, resize, repixel. And in addition to that, they pull your website. They also pull relevant images from your Facebook account, from your Twitter account, and from your LinkedIn account. And Instagram, of course.
Dave.
Yeah, so
this woman knows what she's talking about.
Give
her a raise.
I like that.
Yeah, she is all over it for sure. I mean, we are very fortunate to work with Jessica and she teaches me, weekly new things and new ideas, and new concepts, and we were very, very excited about her on the team. That's for sure.
You guys are talking about results. How many clients are doing this right now with you guys?
That's a good question.
We're upwards of between 30 and 35 current clients that are running it.
And truthfully, what are we hearing from the clients? What are we hearing? What are they telling you?
You got the honest truth?
Yeah, honestly.
They say, how much more money can you take?
No.
How much more money can we throw at this? They say, shut everything. They say, shut everything else off. Run this campaign. Complete honesty.
Chad, there's a woman lying to me.
She's not, it's like a funny thing that, you kind of ease those things out and there's such a slow adoption. And then the people that jump on it, right, they want more.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have to kind of play that battleground or, play that honest expert of, hey, let's keep it going a little bit here, but don't forget about the other items that still drive success.
Here we've got an agency. Don't spend that much.
Yeah, but it's not often that we get to say that. And we anticipate, while we've got 30 to 40 on it now, this is something that we're aggressively pushing out to our clients because we do see such great results. So we're really excited to really hopefully double that number here in the next coming months.
What kind of results are they getting, Chad?
As far as from a conversion standpoint?
Yeah. What the phone calls, form fills? What are they getting the most of? What's working? What's not working? Yet whatever.
Yeah, so I think the majority of it is coming into phone calls. And Jessica, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. And the second most would probably be directions requests, and the third most being form fills. And the reason for that, I think, Jim, is that these are all, we talk about all the different places that these go. My favorite way to explain it is that they're taking advantage of when people are ready to make an action, right? They're on the Google My Business.
Okay, we call that the zero moment.
That's exactly right.
The zero moment while they're there.
They're here. And we know that they're looking for us, and we're just making it one step easier for them to get directly to us, right? And from an agency perspective, I always say that's our whole goal, is just to get as many people talking to our dealerships as possible. Then we know they have hopefully the great processes to make it happen from there.
So anyways, I wanted to get that. I knew we talked about it previously. The phone call, that just absolutely astounds me, because the phone call is the most desirable action that I can get a customer to make.
That's exactly right. And in today's environment, it's even more so, right? Because people don't want to spend the time to do a whole form fill where you have my information. When I can just call, I know that you have the vehicle there. I'm calling to confirm it. I'm calling to confirm your address. All that salesperson really has to do then is take that just like a regular up at a dealership, right? And give them the information they're looking for. And then as soon as they get there, help guide them to that vehicle. And it's that kind of frictionless experience, like Dave mentioned, that more and more people are going to expect out of our stores. And so this helps bridge that gap.
Amazing. Dave, what else do we need to tell the people today? What message does Reunion need to get out to the people watching this broadcast? Because right now the industry is at so many different pivotal points where the whole paradigm is crashing. It's changing.
Yeah. Well, I think really the biggest message today is to be thinking about tomorrow. I mean, I think, and that's, where is this going? If you're not here yet, then you're behind already, because it's going, to a lot of.
About tomorrow. Oh, I'm sorry.
Think of Jim. No, but it's the truth. I mean, so where is this all going? I mean, we're looking ahead to, we'd like to have 250 of our stores that we work with on this thing right now already. And, talking through just getting them on, but then also, what are the different types of messages to get out there, experimenting with fixed ops ads and, getting your service and parts messaging out across these things. Jessica could probably talk in more detail about how Google's tying inventory into these ads now too. And, Google's making inventory a big deal in a lot of areas.
I'm hearing the rumors right now that you hear the drums.
Yeah, well, and this is where tomorrow goes too. And Jessica's throwing us a big Google Marketing Live party at Reunion here at the end of this month. I'm expecting them to make some big announcements about where they're going in auto, even at this more Google, like the whole industry wide, all digital marketing wide announcements, because we uncovered Google having and using some of the inventory that goes in cars for sale. That's part of this the local ads inventory piece. They're really tying inventory all over the place to each other, and they launched secretly, and it was discovered an Auto Trader and Cars.com like environment. And so Google's taking all sorts of steps.
Got a question. A good friend of mine, Paul Bush, Paul Bush, do you have any programs that would help provide inventory? Now, we talked about that earlier in the broadcast. Maybe he just tuned in. Somebody tell Paul what we got. Jessica?
Yeah, Paul. So what we're doing right now is helping our dealers on both Google and Facebook. What we're trying to do is run a variety of buyback campaigns, but also make sure that we're going into places, helping folks get into places like Marketplace and other places where you have the opportunity to acquire inventory at an easier way. Some of those buyback campaigns and some of those why buys can also be really critical to be running right now as extra layers of ways to get inventory as well. And Jessica, feel free to add any gaps in there. Dave, either one.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Hey, Paul Bush, put your phone number on the sidebar and we'll pass it on, get in contact with you. Yeah, fantastic. So anyway, you were talking about service department. Jessica, what are we doing with fixed ops?
Yeah, fixed ops. We actually have a unique program called ProDrive here at Reunion that takes it a step further. So you have the ease of downloading a coupon directly to your phone. And then to back that up, we have the social aspect and the SEM aspect that's pushing very, very specific fixed ops driven content. Just means that when someone's searching for a battery replacement at a local dealership, our ad directly speaks to that battery replacement. And hopefully the dealership has an offer that we can incorporate into that ad as well. So it also differentiates that dealership from the next guy.
Fantastic. So, because fixed ops is going to carry a lot of dealers through this inventory shortage.
That's right.
Absolutely.
If you're going to keep them, you're going to have to fix them.
It's the place that dealers often, right now we're making a lot of gross profit on vehicles because of the sales demand, right? That's not always the case. We know that. Fixed ops often keeps the lights on for a lot of stores. Yet when you look at it from a marketing spend standpoint or the attention that it gets in a marketing meeting, it's hardly anything. And I know hopefully I've got some fixed ops folks on the phone today that are saying, hell yeah, like help me out. I want I want the marketing budget my way. And it's a huge opportunity for dealers because let's face it, a lot of folks, after they buy that car, they don't come back into service, whether it's because they
most agencies aren't concentrating on fixed ops.
That's exactly right. It's
most marketing companies do not have a fixed ops program.
That's correct. And we saw it as a huge opportunity early last year and then really got some great traction on it amidst the big shutdowns last year, last April, May, June, July, those time periods. And some of those results are really great too. And I think for a lot of dealers, it's just putting that extra little bit of effort, right? 5 more minutes in a phone call to say, hey, yeah, I got some service specials I can offer. And then we can take it from there to get that message out.
Fantastic. As we come toward the end of our visit today, what else do we need to tell people, Jessica?
Oh, what do we need to tell them? I would say the bottom line is that local campaigns, this is just the start. Google is already, just like David mentioned, they're already revamping and making these campaigns even more robust. So if you're not doing the bare minimum of local campaigns, you should really be investing that $10 a day allocation just to get
to a lot of people. Nobody's talking about this.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
I talked to a lot of vendors and nobody's talking about this. I mean, you guys are pretty much on the crest of the wave, surfer. you're
That's where we like to be. That's certainly where we like to be.
You are definitely out there. Hey, Chad, what do we need to tell people that we haven't discussed so far?
I think the biggest thing, Jim, is that you got to stay in contact with your agency partners, the people that you work with. Like you said, there's not a lot of agencies talking about this stuff, and there's not a lot of dealers talking about this stuff. So, dealers should find somebody that they can hold accountable for coming to them with ideas, suggestions, things like this. And that when Google and Facebook and all these people continue to make these quick, abrupt changes, that the agency that you're working with is on top of this stuff. Because what we see today is a lot of folks just aren't, whether it's because of big OEM programs or big, They've just gotten to a size that they can't pivot and move at the speed that the landscape is changing today. And that's really where we want to be. Like Dave said, we want to be not just riding that wave, but in front of the other people who are trying to get on it as well.
you're ahead of the competition, and we want the dealers to be ahead of the competition.
That's right.
Dave, as we wrap this thing up, what's the final message for today?
Yeah, I think just recognizing that we are in a more evolved environment. The consumers are more evolved than ever. They are looking in more places than ever. And before we used to check the box: are we doing paid search? Are we doing SEO? And now I think we just got to measure more of these things, because there's a huge opportunity for people to run away with your money and not give you results. So, knowing all these different features and being part of these different features and really measuring that and asking, what are you doing to make my results better? What are you doing that has created growth for me, and measure that growth over all these different pieces. It's going to keep getting more and more evolved. It's going to become more complicated if you aren't asking the right questions and working with the right people. So just watch out.
Absolutely. And the hunt for inventory, that's the biggest right now problem facing dealers. But the good news is I'm driving an Audi Q7, a 2019 model, on a lease. I have equity. I mean, a lease halfway through never had equity in the past. I mean, look at the book and throw the book away. I mean,
absolutely.
Dealers, you've got an opportunity here for some of our buyback programs, some of the things we're doing. Reunion marketing, one of the very best of the best. Let's guys stick around, and we'll have a little chat after the broadcast.
Yeah. Thanks again, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.